Welcome back to Real Talk Sisters. I'm your host, and today we're diving into something that hits close to home for a lot of us. When you start seeing what healthy partnership actually looks like, but you're still stuck waiting for your current situation to magically fix itself. Let's talk about why we wait for permission to choose better.
I need to get something off my chest. I've been talking to someone new, just as friends, but the difference in how he treats me is making me realize how messed up my situation really is.
What kind of difference?
He actually listens when I talk, like remembers things I said weeks later and asks follow-up questions. My current partner barely looks up from his phone when I'm speaking.
I know exactly what you mean. There's this guy I've been chatting with online who treats me like my thoughts and opinions actually matter. It's such a stark contrast.
But aren't you both still with your partners? What's stopping you from making a change?
That's the thing. I keep waiting for my partner to step up or leave on his own. He keeps saying he's going to move out, find his own place, but then nothing happens.
Girl, why are you waiting for him to make the decision? It's your life too.
It's complicated though. There's kids involved, finances, living situations. I can't just kick him out.
But you can make choices about what you're willing to accept. My friend went through this. She stopped waiting for her ex to change and started making moves toward what she actually wanted.
What did she do?
She started by being honest about what wasn't working instead of just hoping it would get better. Set some real deadlines and boundaries.
The thing is, when you're getting treated well by someone else, even just as friends, it shows you what you're missing. That comparison can be really eye-opening.
Right? Like when someone actually cares about your day, asks thoughtful questions, remembers what's important to you. Suddenly you realize how emotionally starved you've been.
But isn't it scary to make that leap? What if you're wrong about the new person?
That's not even the point for me. It's not about him specifically. It's about realizing I deserve to be treated with basic respect and interest.
Exactly. Even if nothing happens with this other person, I now know what it feels like when someone genuinely cares about what I have to say.
So why not demand that same treatment from your current partner?
I've tried. He either gets defensive or promises to change, but nothing actually changes. I'm tired of being his life coach.
That's the thing. You can't make someone care about you differently. They either do or they don't.
And meanwhile, you're wasting time waiting for someone to choose you when there might be people who already would.
But the practical stuff is real. Kids, money, shared responsibilities. You can't just follow your heart when there are other people depending on you.
True, but you also can't sacrifice your emotional well-being indefinitely for the sake of convenience or fear.
Sometimes I think I'm just making excuses because change is scary, even when you know the current situation isn't working.
What would happen if you stopped waiting for him to make the choice and started making your own choices about what you'll accept? I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, what if I just said, this isn't working for me anymore, instead of waiting for him to figure out his life?
That takes a lot of courage, though, especially when you've been in the pattern of accommodating and hoping for so long.
But how long do you wait? How many more months or years of the same patterns before you decide you've had enough?
I think I already know I've had enough. I'm just scared to act on it.
We're back with Real Talk Sisters, and we're talking about that moment when you realize what it feels like to be treated with genuine respect and interest. Sometimes it takes experiencing the difference to understand what you've been missing.
Can we talk about age and maturity for a minute? Because I'm starting to think there's something to be said for men who've actually lived enough life to know how to treat people.
What do you mean?
I've been talking to this guy who's older than me, not like creepy older, just more established, mature. The way he communicates is so different from what I'm used to.
Different how?
He asks about my day and actually listens to the answer. Remembers details from conversations we had weeks ago. When I'm stressed about something, he doesn't try to fix it or make it about him. He just listens.
That sounds amazing. My current partner acts like listening to me talk is some kind of chore he has to endure.
But isn't there something to be said for growing together with someone your own age, learning and maturing together?
I used to think that too, but some people just aren't interested in growing. I spent years trying to teach my ex basic empathy and communication skills. Right? There's a difference between growing together and one person doing all the emotional labor to drag the other person into basic adulthood.
The guy I've been talking to just naturally does things that I've been begging my partner to do for years. It's not that I taught him. He already knew how to be considerate.
That's the thing about emotional maturity. You can't really teach someone to care about your feelings if they don't already want to.
And there's something refreshing about someone who's already figured out that relationships require effort and attention. No training required.
My partner is younger than me, but emotionally mature. Age isn't everything. It's about someone who's done the work on themselves.
That's true. My ex was older, but still acted like a teenager when it came to responsibility and communication.
So what makes the difference then? What are these mature men doing differently?
They listen without getting defensive. When I express a concern, he doesn't immediately start explaining why I'm wrong or overreacting.
They remember things that matter to you. Not just big stuff, but little details that show they're actually paying attention when you talk.
They ask questions that show genuine interest in who you are as a person, not just what you can do for them.
And they have their own lives and interests. They're not looking for you to be their entire social calendar and entertainment system.
They can handle conflict without making it personal or punishing you for having needs and boundaries.
Most importantly, they treat your happiness like it matters to them, not just when it's convenient.
You're making me realize how low my expectations have become. I got excited last week because my partner texted me back within 4 hours.
Girl, the man I've been talking to sends good morning texts just because he's thinking about me, not because he wants something.
That's so sweet. Mine only contacts me when he needs something or wants to complain about his day.
And when you accomplish something or have good news, they're genuinely excited for you, not threatened or trying to one-up you.
That's what partnership should feel like. Someone who's rooting for you to succeed and be happy.
I'm starting to think I've been settling for crumbs when there's people out there offering actual meals.
The question is, what are you going to do about it?
I'm tired of waiting for someone to choose to treat me well when there are people who already do.
Sometimes the universe puts better options in your path to show you what you're worth. The question is whether you're brave enough to choose better.
I think I'm finally ready to stop making excuses for someone who doesn't value what I bring to the table.
Still with us on Real Talk Sisters? We're diving into that internal battle between knowing what you deserve and being terrified to actually go after it. Sometimes the fear of change feels bigger than the pain of staying stuck.
I need to be honest about something. I know my relationship isn't working, but I'm paralyzed by all the practical stuff.
What kind of practical stuff?
Money, mostly. I don't make enough to live on my own with the kids. If I leave, where do we go? How do I afford rent and childcare and everything?
I feel that's so hard. Even though I work full-time, the cost of living alone seems impossible. It's easier to split expenses even if the relationship is miserable.
But what's the real cost of staying? Like, financially, it might make sense, but what about emotionally?
That's what I keep going back and forth on. Am I protecting my kids by keeping the family together? Or am I teaching them that this is what relationships look like?
My kids are older, and my daughter actually asked me why I let her stepdad talk to me the way he does. That hit me hard. Kids see everything, even when we think we're hiding it. They're learning what normal looks like from watching us.
There's someone I've been talking to who's completely changed how I see my situation. We have real feelings for each other, but he keeps telling me he wants me to be strong and independent whether I'm with him or not.
That's beautiful. What's he doing differently?
He's helping me see that I have more options than I thought. Looking at my actual budget, showing me resources, but not because he wants to rescue me. He wants me to know I can handle this myself.
That's rare. Someone who loves you enough to want you empowered, not dependent.
Real love wants to see you thrive, not just survive.
So what did you find out about your finances?
I'm basically supporting 2 adults already while doing all the emotional labor. He's shown me that if I was on my own, I'd have the same expenses but way less stress.
But what about starting over? New schools for the kids, new living situation, all of that.
Change is hard, but sometimes staying is harder. How much energy are you spending managing dysfunction instead of building something better?
That's what's scary but also exciting. This person I'm falling for keeps saying, I want you to choose me because you want to, not because you have to.
That's what love should be, a choice made from strength, not desperation.
And if someone really cares about you, they want to know you're with them because you're happy, not trapped.
But the fear is real, though. What if you leave and can't make it work financially?
That's where having someone who genuinely supports your independence helps. He's like, even if things don't work out between us, I want to know you can take care of yourself and be happy.
That's how you know it's real love versus someone who just wants to control or rescue you.
So he'd help you leave, even if it meant you might not end up together?
He says if I'm not free to choose, then anything between us wouldn't be real anyway. He wants me to know I have options.
That's mature love right there. Wanting someone's freedom even if it's scary for you.
And it shows he believes in you. He thinks you're capable of building a good life.
Versus someone who benefits from keeping you feeling stuck and dependent.
Exactly. My current partner gets defensive whenever I talk about being more independent. This person encourages it.
That tells you everything about their intentions right there.
So what's holding you back now?
Just the logistics, really. But I'm starting to realize that's just fear disguised as practical concerns. Maybe it's time to find out what I'm actually capable of.
We're back with Real Talk Sisters, and we're getting real about something that hits deep. How the way we grew up can mess with our idea of what we deserve. Sometimes we mistake toxic behavior for strength and end up grateful for crumbs.
I need to talk about something that's been bothering me. I grew up thinking that if a man was tough and didn't take any crap, that meant he was strong and protective.
What do you mean?
Like, I was always attracted to the bad boy types. Prison tattoos, rough around the edges, telling everyone else what to do. I thought that was what real men looked like.
I know exactly what you mean. Where I come from, we called it keeping it real when men were controlling and aggressive. Like that was just how strong men acted.
But there's a difference between being strong and being controlling, right?
That's what I'm learning now. The guy I'm with now demands everything be his way, and if I question anything, I get told I should be grateful for what I have.
You should be happy I'm even with you. I've heard that one plenty of times.
Right? Like we should feel lucky that someone wants us, even if they treat us like garbage.
That's not love. That's manipulation. Real strength doesn't need to put you down to build itself up.
But when you grow up a certain way, you don't always know what healthy looks like. You think drama and fighting means passion. Exactly. I thought our big blow-up fights meant we cared deeply about each other. All that intensity felt like love.
I used to think that too. If he wasn't jealous and possessive, it meant he didn't really want me.
That's trauma bonding, not love. The highs feel so good because the lows are so terrible.
But what if that's just the kind of men you're attracted to? How do you change what you're drawn to?
I'm starting to learn that attraction can change when you understand what you actually need. The person I've been talking to isn't the bad boy type at all, but he makes me feel more valued than I ever have.
What's different about him?
He doesn't need to control me to feel powerful. He's confident enough to want me to be strong and independent too.
That's so different from what I'm used to. My current partner acts like my success threatens his masculinity somehow.
Same. If I accomplish anything or have an opinion, suddenly I'm getting too big for my britches or forgetting where I came from.
That's not keeping you humble. That's keeping you small. There's a big difference.
Real strength supports your growth. It doesn't try to limit it.
And when you voice your needs or concerns, a secure man doesn't see that as disrespect or ingratitude.
The man I've been talking to actually asks what I need and want. He doesn't assume I should just be thankful for whatever he decides to give me.
But doesn't that feel weird at first? Being asked what you want instead of just being told?
It does feel strange. I'm so used to making myself smaller to avoid conflict.
That's the thing. You've been taught that taking up space is selfish or ungrateful. But your needs and wants matter too.
Right? You're not being high maintenance for wanting basic respect and consideration.
I always worry that if I ask for too much, he'll just find someone who's easier to deal with.
But that's the fear talking, not reality. Someone who truly cares about you wants to know what makes you happy.
And if asking for basic decency makes someone leave, they weren't the right person anyway.
The grateful for scraps mentality keeps you stuck with people who don't really value you.
You deserve someone who sees your worth, not someone who makes you prove it constantly.
It's hard to unlearn, though. I keep catching myself apologizing for having needs or opinions.
Or feeling guilty for wanting more than the bare minimum.
That's the programming we have to break. We're allowed to want kindness, respect, and genuine care. That's not asking too much.
Your background doesn't determine your worth. You deserve good treatment regardless of where you came from.
And real love doesn't make you feel like you have to earn it every day or be grateful for basic human decency.
Welcome back to Real Talk Sisters. Sometimes it takes seeing how other couples interact to realize just how dysfunctional your own relationship has become. Let's talk about those eye-opening moments.
Can we talk about how shocking it is to see healthy couples in action? Like, I went to dinner with friends last week and watched how her husband treated her.
What did he do?
Nothing dramatic, just little things. He asked if she was cold and offered his jacket. When she was telling a story, he wasn't on his phone. He remembered she doesn't like onions and ordered her food without them.
That sounds so basic, but I can't remember the last time my partner paid attention to details like that about me.
I know what you mean. I've been watching couples in public differently now, seeing men who actually listen when their partners talk instead of just waiting for their turn to speak.
Mine interrupts me constantly or just walks away while I'm mid-sentence. I thought that was normal male behavior.
It's not, though. I saw this couple at the grocery store where the man was asking his wife what she preferred between two brands, actually consulting her opinion like it mattered.
My partner makes all the decisions and tells me after the fact. I picked this or we're doing that. No discussion, no input from me.
That's not partnership. That's dictatorship. You're supposed to be a team making decisions together.
The man I've been talking to asked my opinion on everything, even small stuff. What restaurant sounds good, what movie I prefer, how I feel about different ideas. It's so different.
And when you disagree with them, do they get defensive or actually listen?
Mine acts like any disagreement is a personal attack. God forbid I have a different perspective on anything.
Right? If I don't immediately agree with him, suddenly I'm being difficult or argumentative.
I watched my friend and her boyfriend have a disagreement about where to go for vacation. They both stated their preferences, listened to each other, and found a compromise. No yelling, no punishment, no days of silent treatment.
That sounds like science fiction compared to what I'm used to.
That's what healthy conflict resolution looks like. You can disagree without it becoming a war.
But how do you get to that point? I feel like I've forgotten how to have normal disagreements.
It starts with both people actually caring about the other person's feelings, not just being right or getting their way.
And respecting that your partner is a separate person with their own thoughts and preferences, not just an extension of you.
I've been watching how my coworker's husband treats her when he picks her up from work. He always gets out of the car to hug her, asks about her day, seems genuinely happy to see her.
Mine honks the horn and expects me to run out. If I take too long, he drives off.
That says everything about how much they value your presence in their life.
Right? You should feel wanted and appreciated, not like an inconvenience they have to tolerate.
I noticed this couple at a restaurant where the woman was clearly having a bad day. Her partner just listened, didn't try to fix it or make it about him, just let her vent and offered support.
Mine would either tell me I'm overreacting or start complaining about his own problems.
Because he doesn't see you as a separate person deserving of comfort. You're just supposed to manage his emotions, not have your own.
These comparisons are depressing because they show me how low my standards have gotten.
But they're also hopeful, right? They show that better relationships actually exist. It's not just fantasy. There really are men out there who treat their partners well.
Exactly. Seeing what's possible gives you something to aim for instead of just accepting whatever you've got.
It makes me realize I've been making excuses for behavior that's just not acceptable.
And it shows that the problem isn't you being too demanding. The problem is settling for someone who doesn't know how to be a good partner.
I just realized something about the man I've been talking to that shows the difference between real care and just going through the motions.
What happened?
So I've hated hot dogs since I was little. They make me physically sick to even smell them. But he's been eating them during our video calls for months, and I never said anything because I didn't want to make him feel bad.
You just suffered through it.
For months. Finally, I told him, I must really love you because I've been watching you eat hot dogs this whole time, even though they disgust me.
What did he do?
He felt terrible that he'd been making me uncomfortable. But here's the thing. I just realized he hasn't eaten them on camera since. He didn't make a big announcement about it. He just stopped. No drama, no making me feel guilty for saying something.
That's what genuine care looks like. When someone finds out they're causing you discomfort, they quietly change their behavior without making it about them.
My current partner would probably get defensive and keep doing it anyway because it's not that big a deal, or you should have said something sooner.
Right? Or he'd make a huge show of sacrificing for you and expect constant appreciation.
The difference is someone who just naturally adjusts to make you comfortable versus someone who needs credit for basic consideration.
We're back with Real Talk Sisters, and we're getting into the hardest part, When you know what you need to do, but you're still waiting for someone else to make the decision for you. Sometimes the scariest choice is the one that sets you free.
I've been thinking about what we talked about earlier, and I have to ask, when do you stop waiting for someone to change and start making your own choices?
What do you mean?
Like, how many times do you have the same conversation about the same problems before you accept that nothing's going to change?
I feel like I've been having the same fight for 3 years. You don't help enough, you don't listen, you don't care about my feelings, and he always promises to do better, but nothing actually changes.
Same pattern here. He'll be good for like a week after we fight, then it's right back to the same old crap.
That's what I'm struggling with. He keeps saying he's going to move out and figure his life out, but it's been months of the same empty promises.
Why are you waiting for him to decide, though? It's your life, too.
I guess I keep hoping he'll just leave on his own so I don't have to be the bad guy who kicks him out.
But that's giving him all the power to decide your future. What if he never leaves? What if he's actually comfortable with this arrangement?
Right? He gets all the benefits of having someone take care of everything while he contributes the bare minimum. Why would he change that voluntarily?
That's terrifying to think about. What if I'm still having this same conversation in 5 years?
I watched my mom do that. Wait 30 years for my dad to become the partner she needed. Spoiler alert, he never did.
So how do you make the choice to end it when there are kids involved and practical concerns?
Maybe you start by being honest about what you actually want instead of just managing what you have.
What do you mean?
Like, if you could design your ideal life, what would it look like? Not just what you think is realistic, but what you actually want.
I want someone who's excited to see me at the end of the day, who asks about my thoughts and feelings because they genuinely care, who makes decisions with me instead of just telling me what we're doing.
That sounds like you already know what you want. The question is whether you're brave enough to go after it.
But what if you leave and realize you made a mistake? What if being alone is worse than what you have?
But what if staying is the bigger mistake? What if you're missing out on something amazing because you're settling for something terrible?
And honestly, how much worse could alone be than feeling alone while living with someone who doesn't really see you?
That hits hard. I feel lonelier in my relationship than I do when I'm actually by myself.
The person I've been talking to makes me feel more connected in our conversations than I've felt at home in years.
That says everything right there. You're getting more emotional intimacy from someone miles away than from the person you live with.
So what's really keeping you there? Is it love or is it fear and convenience?
Honestly, it's mostly fear at this point. Fear of the unknown, fear of struggling financially, fear of making the wrong choice.
But staying because you're scared isn't really a choice, is it? It's just avoiding a choice.
And every day you wait is another day you're not building the life you actually want.
Plus, the longer you wait, the harder it gets. You get more entangled, more settled into dysfunction.
And your kids get more used to seeing this as normal. Is this the relationship model you want them to learn from?
God, no. I want them to see what real partnership looks like, not this constant tension and resentment.
Then maybe it's time to stop waiting for permission and start making choices that align with what you actually want.
What would that look like practically?
I think it means having the conversation I've been avoiding. Not please change, but this isn't working and something has to change.
And being prepared for the possibility that he chooses to keep things the same, which means you have to choose something different.
Terrifying, but also kind of freeing. Like, at least you'd be taking control instead of just hoping things magically improve.
You're right. I can't keep living in limbo waiting for someone else to decide my future. Maybe it's time I decided for myself.
We're nearing the end of today's episode of Real Talk Sisters, and we're talking about what it looks like when you're finally ready to choose partnership over settling. Sometimes opportunity and clarity arrive at the same time.
I've been thinking about everything we've talked about today, and I realize I might actually have more options than I thought.
How so?
There's a possibility I might inherit my grandmother's house soon. If that happens, I could either stay local and have my own place, or I could sell it and have real freedom to make bigger changes.
Like what kind of changes?
Well, the man I've been talking to lives in a different state, better schools, lower cost of living, and he owns his home outright. If I sold the house, I could actually contribute to building something real instead of just surviving paycheck to paycheck.
That sounds like a completely different life. Are you ready for that big of a change?
That's what I keep asking myself. But when I compare it to staying here, dealing with the same drama, watching my kids learn that dysfunction is normal, yeah, I think I am.
What would that look like practically?
He's made it clear that if I came, I wouldn't be dependent on him. The money from the house would give me my own foundation. I could invest in the household, help improve things, be an actual partner instead of someone who needs rescuing.
That's such a different dynamic than what you have now.
Completely. Right now, I'm scrambling to cover everything while he contributes the bare minimum. With this other option, we'd both be investing in building something together.
But what about the kids? That's a huge change for them too.
Better schools, safer neighborhood, a stable home environment where they see healthy partnership modeled, versus staying here where they watch constant conflict and learn that's normal.
And they'd see you happy and valued instead of stressed and taken for granted.
That sounds amazing, but aren't you scared about making such a big move for someone you haven't been with that long?
I'm not making the move for him specifically. I'm making it for the chance to build the kind of life I actually want. He just happens to be someone who wants to build that same kind of life.
That's a healthier way to think about it. You're choosing a different future, not just choosing a different man.
And if you have your own money and resources, you're not trapped if things don't work out.
Exactly. I'd have options and independence, which I don't have now. Even if we didn't work out romantically, I'd still be in a better situation than I am here.
What does your current partner think about the possibility of you inheriting the house?
He's already talking about what we could do with the money, not what I want to do or what would be best for the kids, just how it benefits him.
That tells you everything about how he sees you and your resources.
Versus someone who encourages you to use opportunities to build your own strength and independence.
Right. This other man keeps saying that money is yours to use however makes you happiest and most secure. He's not trying to control it or claim it.
That's the difference between someone who wants to use you and someone who wants to support you.
So what's your gut telling you?
That I'm tired of just surviving and ready to start thriving, whether that's here on my own or somewhere new with someone who actually values partnership.
It sounds like you've already made your decision. You're just working up the courage to act on it.
Maybe I have. For the first time in years, I can actually picture a future where I'm genuinely happy instead of just getting by.
That's what real partnership should offer. The chance to build something better together, not just endure something difficult.
And your kids deserve to see you happy and fulfilled, not constantly stressed and undervalued.
You're right. I think it's time I stopped settling for survival and started choosing the life I actually want.
We're wrapping up today's episode of Real Talk Sisters with something that might surprise you. What it looks like when someone loves you enough to put your well-being above their own needs. Sometimes real love doesn't look like what we expect.
Elena, you mentioned this man you're talking to is different from the typical provider type. What do you mean by that?
He's more of a homebody, doesn't go out much, prefers staying home. But instead of expecting me to do the same, he's excited about the idea of me focusing on my career while he handles more of the household stuff.
He wants to be supportive of your work instead of competitive with it.
Exactly. He's talking about how if I moved there, I could have an easier work week because he'd take care of more of the day-to-day home management. He wants to make my life easier, not harder.
That's so backward from what most men expect.
Right? Usually they want someone to take care of them while they focus on their careers.
He keeps saying he's already lived his life, built his career, and now he just wants to support someone he cares about in building theirs.
That's such a different mindset than what you're dealing with now.
Completely. My current partner expects me to handle everything at home and work full-time. This man wants to lighten my load so I can thrive.
That's what real partnership looks like, figuring out how to support each other's success instead of competing for who gets taken care of.
And he's thinking about your long-term goals, not just what's convenient for him right now.
There's something beautiful about someone who's secure enough to want you to shine instead of needing to be the center of attention.
It shows he values your happiness and success as much as his own.
That sounds like he actually sees you as a whole person with your own ambitions, not just someone to fill a role in his life.
That's exactly it. He asks about my dreams and goals and wants to help me achieve them. Meanwhile, my current partner acts threatened whenever I accomplish anything.
The difference between someone who wants to build you up versus someone who needs to keep you down to feel secure.
And if he's willing to take on household responsibilities so you can focus on work, that shows he respects what you do professionally.
He does. He talks about my job like it matters, asks thoughtful questions about my projects, It's such a change from being treated like what I do is just a hobby that brings in some extra money.
That's respect for you as an individual, not just as someone who serves a function in his life.
It sounds like he's offering actual partnership where you both contribute what you're good at to make both your lives better.
That's what I want. Someone who sees our relationship as a team effort to build something good together, not a competition or a transaction.
You deserve someone who wants to see you succeed and is willing to do their part to make that happen.
For the first time in years, I can actually picture a future where I'm supported instead of just managing everything alone.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Real Talk Sisters. Remember, love isn't just about finding someone who needs you. It's about finding someone who wants to see you thrive. Don't settle for anyone who makes your life harder when there are people out there ready to make it better. We'll be back next time with more real talk about choosing the love you deserve. Until then, keep those standards high, sisters.